And so thank you again, JWPR Shankar, for taking your time out to speak to me. And as we have spoken previously, the conversation is about the Brahmaputra River project, what the India's mega project looks like in order to evacuate 70 gigawatts of hydroelectrical energy from different Brahmaputra River tributaries in our northeastern states. So to begin with, I would like to understand what is the government's stance on the Brahmaputra Siang Water Conservancy multi-purpose project. What is the current working objective of this project, and what is the government planning to achieve through this project?
Well, at the outset, the Brahmaputra Water Conservancy project is fundamentally to ensure water security of the nation, largely. And in doing so, we also need to understand that we have to secure our energy, uh, for the nation, for development of the Northeast. And there are other strategic considerations also involved. So it's a multi-layered aim, the strategy of the government of India, right? But many people feel that this is a counter to what China is doing across in Tibet by construction of the dam at Medog over Brahmaputra, or the Yarlung Zangpo, as they say. But this is not so. This is not so. This is one other thing is, yes, we have to counter whatever ill effects of the dam will be on India. At the same time, we have to ensure that there's regular water flow in the Brahmaputra River so that, um, because the Brahmaputra, the full entire state of Assam and Arunachal Pradesh, people live on the banks of this river, right? Their livelihoods are at stake. And of course, there's tremendous potential for hydroelectric energy out of this dam or the set of dams which are likely to come up. And so that also has to be tapped. And that will be used to, develop the Northeast, right? It's a 360-degree development. Then it also contributes to increasing the infrastructure in that area, in the entire Northeast. Largely, it will also affect the lifestyles and people's living habit and ecology in that area. Even that has to be balanced out. It will contribute a lot to people's growth and aspirations, create local employment. It will also create local education systems and a whole lot of things. So it's a multi-layered approach which is being taken. So just to see it as a water conservancy project is understating the aim.
That makes total sense. I think it is a multifaceted project aimed at delivering multiple objective at the same time. So, in terms of understanding the future plan and how India intends to promote hydropower, particularly in that region, I want to know that some of the projects that have been named under this mega initiative, like for example, the Lower Subhansiri Restart Status and the Dibang Multipurpose Project, Upper Siang Concept, and as you mentioned yesterday, the Lohit Siang Cascade. Which are the near-term priorities, like within now and to 5 years, and what are the long-term projects that we are aiming at, perhaps beyond 10 years?
Look, the ones which are on the lower edges, like Lower Subansiri and Lower Siang, and probably anywhere which is at a lower level, is an easier project to execute, and which will immediately start affecting people's lives, right? And I think that those are the ones which are easier to make, and I'm sure those will be the priority. The ones in the upper reaches, their implications are more. They need a little more understanding of the geology. They need a little more understanding of the ecology. And they also need a little more understanding of the issues involved, which have not come up through. I think the upper reaches, all projects in the upper reaches will take time to crystallize. That's the inter-se priority which will also come in, because you'll agree with me, not all projects are going to take off in the same time. This is a project which is going to span good 15, 20 years. I think the lower Subansiri project is already started, if I'm not mistaken, in some manner. I think that will be the first one which will come. I've been hearing of this lower Subansiri project for many years.
Interesting. And another objective remains to under this project is to evacuate the electricity and transmit it through power grids and lines across the different state beyond the Northeast, right? So I would like to understand from you, like how the pumped storage capacity will be coordinated with Brahmaputra storage to deliver and balance Northeast demands and also the demands of the mainland India.
The as far as the storage of electricity is concerned, that is we already on a national grid. From there, we will be able to transmit. But I think more than getting it into the national grid, the idea of the government of India is to create energy infrastructure in such a manner that energy produced at a point is consumed locally. All right. So, for example, let me highlight it. In the south, the thing is to go in for nuclear energy and things like that, or renewables and things like that, which is more productive. Or in the west, in the desert regions, renewables will be of greater value. And whatever are produced in a particular region will be used locally. So similarly, whatever will be produced in the northeast, in the Brahmaputra basin, ideally should be consumed locally. So I don't visualize too much transfer of energy taking place. And this, this is already part of a larger plan, okay? Because as India grows, our energy requirements will grow exponentially. And that's one. The second thing is this energy is not going to come online immediately. It's going to come in stages. And the development also will be in stages. So it will take some time. I don't see much of electricity being pumped out from there. The major issue which people are worried about from many perspectives is the amount of water that Brahmaputra will have. Will it be enough to serve the purposes of drawing hydroelectric power, as also cater for a daily life and sustenance along the rivers? That is the larger thing. And of course, these dams, will they eventually promote flood controls? Because the Brahmaputra is a flood-prone river. It's a natural thing in the northeast, both in the, what people don't know or don't have an idea about is, it's not only the Brahmaputra river and its basin. There is another river called the Barak, which is to the south in Assam. Barak flows through Manipur and Assam, and then it flows before it flows into Bangladesh. Now, both these are flood-prone rivers, and the entire population in that belt, right, are accustomed to a way of life based on floods. Floods is a regular occurrence in their life. Right. Now, when you do start developing people and population, you are disturbing or expecting to beat that flood cycle. Okay. When you build a building at a place, and if that has to be flooded during the peak season or the rainy season, that building is of no use to man or beast. Right? And part of the development is a chap who's got a hut is going to have a building tomorrow. If that building every 6 months is going to go under flood, that building has got no value. On the other hand, if a chap who was subsisting in a hut, if after 6 months that hut got washed away, it didn't matter. He'll just get to back and build bamboos and get to that. So the larger thing is, how do you control that flood? How do reverse the cycle of habitation and flood, which today exists, right? So
Mm.
these dams should be contributing to that in the larger perspective. So I'm not fully aware of it, but I think there's a requirement. And I think the dams will start controlling the overall flow of water in the major channels. And that way it'll help people, live better and develop better.
What impression I'm getting out of our conversation is that this will also involve multiple layers within the government. You need to have a very proactive bureaucracy functioning at all stages, from the local government to the state and the central government, and also employing different forms of private partnerships coming through. So I want to know, how would the government actually overcome through any bureaucratic challenges that they may face? What are the different layers of the bureaucratic problems that may the government may face while executing this plan during the implementation?
Look, there are basically two states involved in this, in the Brahmaputra Valley project. One is the state of Arunachal and the second is the state of Assam.
Mm.
First and foremost, I think sooner or later, they'll have some kind of authority which will deal with this whole story at a mega level. Right? Earlier, we had this Ministry of Northeastern Affairs, or the Directorate for Northeastern Region, or something like that.
It was headed by General V.K. Singh a couple of years ago.
Yeah. So that, I think something like that will have to come up for both these states only, Arunachal Pradesh and Assam, and they'll start coordinating. It's not only a coordination of building a dam or infrastructure, but there are many departments also involved in this whole process.
Mm.
It's just not that. So parallel bureaucracies within the state departments have also to be brought on board. So I expect a major authority being set up for all this. And I mean, to be very honest, at this point of time, we are too far away from that. I don't see that happening for the next 2 years. Right? It's still, I mean, and I'll explain to you why. A lot of the design of this entire story will depend on the design of the dam which is being built by China and Tibet. Because, it depends on what will be the final design of that dam, which will tell us how much water will flow through Siang. And depending on how much water will flow through or will not flow through in Siang, you will have to design your dam system.
Mm.
It will be, in some manner, it will be a reactive system to some extent, not fully, right? I think all these factors, I expect by about next year, we should kick in with an authority. I mean, that's the right time frame. At this point of time, I think it's too premature, right? Like I said, in the priority, the lower reaches dams and systems don't need that coordination because they're local coordination. But the problem will come as the thing goes forward. And I suppose by next year, or maybe it might even take 2 years for us to get some idea of what the Chinese are doing. And the moment that happens, I think we'll start rolling out our own plans.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm glad you picked up on the China fact, actually. I have three more questions, and the last question will be on the geopolitical angle, which of course involves China and the Tibetan Plateau at large. But right now, I want to talk about the technical challenges about establishing hydropower stations, So what are the key design or geotechnical constraints? Because as you have described it, it is seismic activity is often unpredictable. Flood situation can be very devastating. So, I want to understand from you, what are the technical constraints that the government might face in establishing the evacuation capacities in different areas, and how realistic is our approach so far?
Look, let me put across the constraints and the things which we have to, factor in. And these are almost I wouldn't say almost, they're mandatory. You can't run away from them. The first is the entire northern Himalayas, northeastern Himalayas, is in a seismic zone, right? So building any dam anywhere in this area is got problems, especially in the higher reaches, right? Because these areas in the northeastern Himalayas are young mountains. As it is, the soil is unstable. As you go further east, the instability of the soil increases.
Right.
Even roads are difficult to make, leave alone a dam. And we've seen that there is an issue of climate change going on. Okay, and you see what happened last year or a year before last of that, glacial lake burst which happened in Sikkim. A complete, Tista River, all projects got washed away. The same thing is happening every year almost in Pakistan, in the Indus.
Yeah.
Okay, and this area is also vulnerable to everything. Today, you don't understand what's happening there for the simple reason there are no projects, there's no development there. The moment you start getting development and flood cycles start, and you have global warming and unusual glacial outbursts in this area, you will have more floods and then you'll have problems, right? So you have to guard against that. I think you have to go slow. So the first thing is, this area is in a seismic belt. You're in a time of climatic change where glacial outbursts are occurring in the Himalayas, right? Like it happened in Sikkim. Okay, the soil is weak out there. So you have to take into consideration all this. And in many parts, this area is full, there's a huge ecological imbalance you'll create by making these dams and reservoirs. And you're also going to, push out local inhabitation.
Exactly.
See, there is an issue which we have to take into consideration. There are people, at the end of the day, we are not like China that you can bulldoze everyone out. And these people are tribal people, a lot of them, and they live on the land. They live off the land, right? In many cases, there has to be a debate whether they need development also. Is it better to leave them to develop at their pace and live at their pace, or develop it in the modern way, the way we think it is? Because normally what we think is best for them might not be the best for them the way they have lived through centuries. So you're going to disturb that, ecological balance and that, anthropological balance. So all these have to be factored in before you get into, making big dams. It's okay for China to do all this. China has done all this, and China has suffered for this,
Yeah.
right? So, but we can't. And we are a democracy. We are a responsible democracy. And we are not interested in getting, we can't, we might be slow. And for many reasons, we will be slow. People will, geopolitical angles, they'll think India is doing all this at snail's pace. It's not that we are doing it at snail's pace. We have to take all consideration to account.
Right.
And many things, as you progress, and if your pace is slow, you can adapt to change. There's an issue of adaptability to changing conditions.
Interesting.
So, I mean, let me give you, if you have not heard, yesterday or day before, one of the Chinese bridges in this Sichuan area has gone down.
Oh.
Right? Why did it go down? Because there was a landslide at one end of the bridge, right? And that's gone down. And that's hit the local media, I mean, international social media in a big way. Why is that? Why does that happen in China? It happens frequently in China because of the fact that they have done everything at express pace without taking into consideration the natural risks and climatic risks involved in the place. So as a result, you develop, your design of the bridge might be good, but has that bridge or dam or infrastructure, does it cater for local requirements is a big question mark. And that is something we cannot violate.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you have completely answered my following question as well, which was about how to deal with the socioeconomic challenges. How can the local communities perceive this risk and reward trade-off? And is there any visible, trust deficit between the local communities and the central and state authorities?
Yeah, I should talk of the trust deficit. The trust deficit will be there.
Hmm.
You will see the local tribals and the local people, because this area is a huge tribal area
Yep.
governed by still tribal laws.
Hmm.
Local tribal laws rule. Okay. And we respect them. The thing is, the government of India respects local tribal laws and customs. In fact, this is built into our constitution.
Yep.
Article 6 and 7 of our constitution caters for this fact of how to respect tribal customs. I mean, I might be going away, but you see, the fight in Ladakh is all about Article 7 and Article 4.
Exactly.
Why? They want their local customs to be respected. You see, same way this place also will have some trust deficit. Now it's up to the government of India and the state government and the local governments and the local NGOs and everyone to bridge this trust deficit. In many cases, we might have to alter our plans to assuage the local feelings and cater for the local circumstances.
Hmm.
So I think in this whole story, we have to be very slow in going about things. We shouldn't be in a hurry,
Exactly.
right? And I think we are aware of that.
Yep.
We are aware of that because there's another thing. Nature will take its own toll. Nature will not allow you to go faster than what you can. And Northeast has a cycle of its own, a beat of its own if you still lived there. So things will be different there.
Yep, that's true. I want to shift gears and I want to come back to the angle there where we picked up this conversation from, that there is a concept, there is a perception that this kind of project is sort of a counteract against Chinese investment in the Yarlung-Zampo mega dam project, which has sort of caused an urgency inside the country that that's the reason why we have to increase this.
Yeah.
So I want to know from that, like, what are the geopolitical constraints here? How do you see China's mega dam project as speak about this, our own project?
Look, you have to understand that project. Many people speak of that project without understanding that project.
Hmm.
If you don't understand that project is a danger to all of us. If you understand that project is not as big a danger as it appears. That's the first thing, right? And that is why I've said you have to see how that project is unrolling before you start taking countermeasures, right? Okay, for that, I think I'll show you a few graphics. This is the Brahmaputra basin, as you see, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Now, this brown line which I've shown is actually the Himalayan crest line.
Hmm.
And the Brahmaputra comes along the Himalayan crest line, swings south and gets in and then opens out. But, let me put it in a different way. So here there's a gap between the eastern and the western Himalayas. I mean, in the eastern Himalayas itself. Okay. And the Brahmaputra is not one river. The main river is, this is called Sangpo in Bhutan, in Tibet, comes down as Siang. Past this point, right? This is called Brahmaputra. Now, the tributaries to the Brahmaputra are many, but the main tributaries from the north are Subansiri, Siom, Siang, right, with Dibang, Delai, Lohit, and Dau, right? I normally in the army we call it 3S and 3D: Subansiri, Siom, Siang, Dibang, Delai, Dau, and Lohit. These are the 7 main tributaries. The water coming down from Siang is only about 10 to 12%, maybe max 15%. The rest of the water comes here. So, in effect, now when you say our projects span Subansiri, they span Dibang, they span Siang, right? What are you doing if there is excess of blockage of water in, uh, you know, in this Great Bend area? This is the Great Bend area, and this is where they're planning this dam. Then the water in
Mhm.
the main channel can be controlled by 3 or 4 dams, which are not necessarily in Siang. Okay, so you control or give excessive water through dams in Subansari and maybe later in Siom also, and Dibang, Upper Dibang, Lower Dibang, whatever it is. So the main channel will always, with this whole plan, you will get water. The problem is in Siang. Okay, we'll get ahead a little. This is a,
Mhm.
how it comes. This is the Himalayan crest line. And if you see here, this is the valley which comes down, and I'll explain to you. Now, Sangpo comes this, the yellow line is Sangpo, it comes down and goes. This is the entire thing. This is a, 3D way of putting it. It is
You
this,
shed. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, this is how, this is the point where the dam is being made. Now,
Hmm.
this, of course, a clearer picture, a 3D blow up. Now, this is the Sangpo River. As it
Hmm.
comes, Sangpo River comes, goes round this bend. This is Namcha Barwa. Now, what the Chinese are doing is they're trying to dig this whole story under this massif of 8,000 feet. No, sorry, 8,000 meters. That's about 24, 25,000 feet. Something like in the Everest region, something in the height of Kanchenjunga and Everest. Underneath this, they want to put penstock pipes. I'll show it to you a little later. Now, okay, now, okay, now look at it this way. This is the river as it goes down. Okay, this area is at 14,000 feet in the river, and this area is at about 3,000, 4,000 feet. This year, it goes here. And is it this place, Jilling, that this river enters India? And Jilling, North, Tooting, Migging, these are all in India up till here. Okay. Now, there's another river which joins in here. I, right? As what I have learned so far, there's a dam which is going to come up here.
Okay.
Okay. The dam will be on the Great Bend. And water will get accumulated behind here. So the water storage
Hmm.
is here, approximately. Okay. Yeah, right. So, but, and this is, like I said, is the border or the McMahon line or the LAC, which whatever you call it. Right? Jelling
Yep.
onwards is south is India, and this side is north. I'm now seeing it all from the Tibetan plateau.
Got it. Yep.
Okay. Now, now when you see this, this is a pictorial representation of that whole story, how it's going to happen. Right? This is, imagine Brahmaputra coming around the bend like this, and put a dam here. When you put a dam here, water here will reduce. But from that water which is behind this mountain, you will have pipes coming through the mountain, and water will come back here. Here, the water will be as much. I mean, after all, that water has to flow out. And as I understand, the Chinese are putting these pipes through the mountain. Here I've shown three, turbines outside the mountain. But I understand that the Chinese are putting these turbines under the whole ridge line, inside the mountain.
Interesting.
Okay, if they are putting all that inside the mountains and everything, they can't store this water. They have to let it go.
Hmm.
So the amount of water which they have to they can control is also less. And the second thing is water behind this. If they hold too much water, if they do hold too much water, right, and not let anyone come, there'll be pressure on these. The lake will get filled up behind. I mean, this part will keep getting filled up behind, and there'll be problems for them. If they hold less water means they flood. If they flood this place, this downstream of Brahmaputra with too much water from this dam, then they will not have enough water for this turbines. It's not as if the Chinese are home and free on this.
Got it.
Okay? They also have to maintain their balance. And remember that in these heights, 6 months of the year, the water flows are minimal. So they, engineering wise, it's going to be a huge feat for the Chinese. That's why I said they've taken 15 years to design this dam, and yet they have not yet put the first brick for this. They have not yet started. They only put approach roads, here, all that. So unless we understand exactly how they are rolling it out, and that I suppose we will come to know in the next 2-3 years by the approaches they take, where they're going to make what, and that will give us an indication as to how this dam design is going to come up, and that's how we are going to make our dams. So you might not need that big set of dams downstream for us ultimately. So we'll have to see this as to how it happens. So as I said, unless we come to know as to finally the shape of the Chinese dam and the design of the Chinese dam, you can't finalize your own designs.
Mm.
Okay, how do you offset what's going to come down? And unless only when you know the design of those dams will you know how much water they can hold or not hold.
Exactly. Because we are on the downstream, so we need to have an idea that how they are going to be controlling their water flow to
Yeah,
make an assessment. How much of
yes,
our holding capacity should be
yeah.
there if understanding is correct.
Okay, so to that extent, we are in no hurry. Like everyone feels that it's going to happen by day after tomorrow. It's not going to happen. It might not happen for the next 10 years.
Interesting.
Okay, in fact, it will not happen. I don't visualize it happening in a hurry.
Mm.
And we also have to understand the timelines here will be, they, as per their own estimations, will be twice the time they took to build Three Gorges Dam.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not going to be in a hurry. Also, remember, in these altitudes, you can only work 6 months in a year. Other 6 months you can't work.
Right.
Cement
Another.
doesn't, right? You can't work. It's cold. It's frozen. Everything is frozen. Okay.
Exactly. That's why we
So,
need like a very strong, fundamentally expertise on the ground that you people like you have, and that's the reason
yeah,
we should
because
keep having.
we have done works
Look
there.
at that.
We have built
Exactly.
habitat. We built infrastructure in that place.
Mm.
Everything which you have to do for in one day in the plains, it will take us 2 to 3 days up down there.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the equation, right?
Mm.
And they might not even have the labor to do it.
Mm.
You can't manipulate your equipment the way that the plan is being done, framed out there. So it's not going to be an easy task for the Chinese.
Mm.
And plus, they're doing it in a seismic zone. We don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly. True, true.
So we have to be patient
Mm.
rather than be in a hurry and regret it at leisure.
True. That's true.
So I mean, I am not too worried about that Yarlung Zangbo Dam or response to it. Largely, I think the way we should go about doing things is approach it at the minimalistic level, which is consistent with our development and requirements, and then build it up.
Got it.
I mean, things like the Lower Subansiri project, or for that matter, the project in Dibang,
Mm.
you need it whether the dam comes up or not. That's why I said those priority tanks are not really connected with the dam. Eventually, they will contribute to control of water in Brahmaputra
Mm.
in the larger context. But immediately, these are not completely connected to the dam which is being made by China. So we can do this. There's no big deal.
Okay. That makes sense. Mm. Right. Well,
Yeah.
that was all from my end, sir. And I mean, I think the plan of action is going to be that we will keep an eye out on whatever development and news comes, and I will frequently shoot you an email if you have any additional views to share with
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
I'll be more than happy to incorporate in my study.